Okay, let's dive into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a match that literally had everyone talking. We're looking at how France is winning ugly to chase World Cup glory, focusing specifically on their incredibly gritty and highly controversial 1-0 victory against Paraguay. Now, on the surface, you might think a narrow 1-0 win isn't much to write home about for a tournament favorite, but over the next 10 to 12 minutes, we're going to unpack exactly how this gritty performance perfectly encapsulates France's championship DNA, and we'll see exactly how Kylian Mbappé is leading them straight toward World Cup glory.
So, the crucial question we really need to start with is this. How does the ugliest match of the tournament actually prove that France might be unstoppable? Because look, what seemed like a deeply frustrating, borderline unwatchable game was actually an absolute masterclass in tournament survival. We all know great teams can blow opponents away when the game is wide open, but legendary teams? They find a way to win when the conditions are just completely miserable. And Paraguay made sure the conditions were as miserable as humanly possible.
To truly get a sense of what France was up against, you just have to listen to the immediate reaction from the pundits. One analyst summed it up perfectly, calling it everything that I hate about football. Critics absolutely hammered Paraguay's tactics. They completely refused to play an open game. Let's be real, going toe-to-toe with the French attack usually ends with you getting battered. So instead, Paraguay decided their absolute best bet was to just completely destroy the rhythm of the match.
And you could literally feel the exasperation from the French players out on the pitch. Observers noted that players were down on the field every 10 seconds. I mean, just imagine trying to build any sort of attacking momentum when the whistle is constantly blowing, the medical staff keeps getting waved on, and the clock is just bleeding out. It was a highly calculated effort to rile the French squad up, get under their skin, and turn a beautiful football match into a straight-up street fight.
But here is the truly shocking part, the disciplinary outcome. 0 yellow cards for Paraguay. None. Despite the endless disruptions, the constant complaining to the ref, and what a lot of people were calling outright anti-football, the referee just let Paraguay get away with the whole shebang. They played the referee just as intensely as they played the French team. Honestly, for France, it must have felt like they were playing against 12 men, which obviously only amplified their frustration.
When you break down Paraguay's game plan, it's basically a masterclass in disruption, designed to shut up shop and force a penalty shootout. They defended incredibly deep to kill off any transition game. They faked injuries to drain the clock and swarmed the referee at every single opportunity. But the absolute peak of these tactics, digging a literal hole in the penalty spot right before Mbappé's penalty kick. That tells you absolutely everything you need to know about the mentality they brought to this knockout match. They wanted to drag France down into the mud.
All right, let's move into the next phase of our analysis, the mastermind on the sidelines, Didier Deschamps and his tactical patience.
Navigating a chaotic mess like that requires a brilliant tactician. Looking at the sloppy first half, you can see the French players definitely lost their cool. They were deeply frustrated by the sweltering heat, which was a huge factor, by the way, and they started reacting aggressively to Paraguay's antics. It was so incredibly tense. But then came halftime and a much more disciplined second half. Deschamps didn't lose his temper. Instead, he demanded tactical patience. He essentially told his squad to bide their time, utilize their depth, and just stop falling for the mind games. He knew their moment would eventually come.
And that moment came directly from Deschamps utilizing his incredibly deep squad with perfectly timed adjustments. First, Bradley Barcola is subbed out. Most managers might have panicked or left him on, but Deschamps has a genius pulse on his team. Second, Desiree Doué is brought on, and the impact is instant. Third, Doué draws a crucial foul in the box. And fourth, of course, Mbappé converts the penalty to break the deadlock. It was a tactical masterstroke built on pure, unadulterated patience.
That kind of patience makes total sense when you consider the number 24. This was Deschamps' 24th World Cup match as a head coach. That is the second most of all time. It completely explains why he knows exactly how to navigate these incredibly tense, ugly situations. While other coaches might panic or project their frustration onto the pitch, Deschamps just stays icy calm, rotating his squad until he finds the exact right key to unlock a stubborn defense.
And that perfectly sets the stage for our next focus, the generational phenomenon, Kylian Mbappé. It brings us to a question we probably don't ask nearly enough. How good is Kylian Mbappé right now? Because honestly, we might actually be taking him for granted, while his current trajectory is rapidly rewriting the international football history books right before our eyes.
Just look at the number 19. Mbappé has now played in 19 World Cup games, and he has scored a staggering 19 goals. a goal a game on the absolute biggest, most high-pressure stage in global sports. That level of consistency is almost hard to wrap your head around, especially when you consider that he is the most tightly marked guy on the pitch in every single match.
But his dominance really peaks when the stakes are highest. When you look at the all-time knockout stage goals, Mbappé is sitting at 11. He has completely shattered the previous records held by absolute legends of the game like Ronaldo Nazario and Leonidas. Think about the gravity of that achievement for a second. At just 27 years old, he is already the most lethal knockout performer this tournament has ever seen.
It's actually fascinating to contrast his recent club reality with his national team dominance. At the club level, he faced a ton of criticism at Real Madrid, with a demanding fan base even calling for his exit, despite him scoring over 40 goals. But then you look at his national team dominance. The second he puts on that France jersey, it's total liberation. Given complete freedom in the captain's armband by Deschamps, he transforms into the ultimate clutch performer.
Which brings us to this massive milestone, 100. With that penalty against Paraguay, Kylian Mbappé has now been involved in 100 goals for the French national team. 100 goals. At just 27 years old, that level of output is simply unprecedented. He is literally cementing a legacy that is entirely his own. Ultimately, the defining trait of his legacy is perfectly captured by the thought that he makes scoring at the World Cup look easy. Think about how many players dream their entire lives of scoring just one World Cup goal. Mbappé steps up to a penalty spot that, remember, has literally been dug into a hole by the opposing team in a sweltering, violently physical match, and he just calmly slots it home. He completely normalizes the impossible.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought. If France can survive a tactical street fight against a team determined to destroy the game of football, and if they possess a deep bench orchestrated by a mastermind manager, and they boast the greatest World Cup goal scorer of a generation in Kylian Mbappé, can anyone actually stop them from lifting the trophy? It's a terrifying thought for the rest of the world, but man, it is a thrilling one for fans of this incredible team.